If you could start off by telling me about yourself and RedShed, telling us all about the project, please.
Okay. My name's Su Harvey and I am a horticultural therapist. I've been running and I'm the founder of the RedShed project. We're based in Stevenage. We use horticultural therapy, which is all forms of gardening and gardening-based crafts, to help people who are living with dementia and their carers. We also, when we're not in COVID situation, we help invite families and members of the local community to get involved as well. So this is year 3 for the RedShed. We work from our accessible garden. There's multi-issues that come with dementia, so we're wheelchair friendly. We're also able to meet the needs of people with other disabilities, sensory disabilities, as well as movement and fitness disabilities. So we can, the garden is accessible to everybody. And we run here regular workshops where people come with their carer and get involved with the garden, maintaining the garden, learning about gardening, trying other new skills out, like maybe willow weaving or something arts and craftsy. And basically, that's it really. On a regular basis, people come once they come to the RedShed, they stay at the RedShed. We don't have at the moment fixed periods of time. And part of not only being in the garden and the benefits that are there, but there's also a lot around being together with other people. So we have a social time each time we meet as well. And that's very important for both the carers and the cared for, to meet with other people who are in a similar situation to them.
And how do people come, how do they find out about the RedShed? How do they come to you in the first place?
We've got various ways of finding us. Some have come through our social media and websites. Others have come from referrals from other organisations, from a local organisation called Heartswise, which is headed up by Age UK, also Alzheimer's Society, and also our social services older persons team. And I believe somebody came here via their GP. So it's several ways of finding us.
And how are you funded?
Several sources. We've got private donations. We've got money coming from Hertfordshire County Council. We have national lottery funding this year and postcode lottery funding, and another local group that fund through businesses, local businesses, called the Stevenage Community Foundation. And that's where all our funding is from this year. So it's an ongoing, always looking for funding.
So obviously, without going into personal details, can you tell us a little bit about the people who are involved currently with RedShed?
We have quite a broad spectrum of people, age range, including age range, because we have something called a young onset dementia group, is when you've received your diagnosis when you're under 65. So we have got people here who are in their early 60s, maybe even late 50s. And then we also have people who have lived with dementia for some time and might be quite affected by that at this stage. So they might be in a wheelchair and they might have other disabilities. And obviously one of them is memory loss. And then we have people, our eldest member is 92, but she's quite recently been diagnosed. So she has minimal problems and issues at this stage, but she's 92, but very fit. So we cover quite a broad range of different people, different backgrounds. And with each person comes a carer, so that carer is also, there's quite a broad spectrum of people also who are caring at the moment. The younger end, with the young onset dementia have a totally different set of needs, as you can imagine. Some of them were working until they were diagnosed. They might have children still at home, older children, but people that still are at home and relying on them, whereas the older people might be at home on their own. So they've got isolation issues as well. But maybe they're on a pension, so their financial situation might be different. But there's all sorts of different needs and effects depending on the across the wide age group.
And what do you think that people get out of coming to the Red Shed that maybe they don't get from other places?
Well, our big selling point is obviously the garden. It's quite unusual, as far as I know, to be running something for dementia, solely for dementia, and in a garden. Quite a lot of community gardens might do an afternoon for people with dementia. So having this as a specific site for people living with dementia seems to be quite unusual. And people absolutely love to come here. They're outside, they come out in all weathers. We're connected physically, we're connected but to a school, so the children are around as well, so there's another level of contact and being part of a community that they get from being here. And a garden is a very comfortable place. It's non-clinical, and it's very it's naturally quite a social place. And it's a very comfortable place because I think everybody has got some nice memories about being in a garden, or it's very familiar because we've all got a garden or had a garden at home at some point. So people really enjoy that, rather than going to an indoor place that might be clinical or might be sort of just a hall, or and there's a place for all of that. I don't want to say this is the only way, but it is something that people really appreciate, to come to the garden and be in a familiar, comfortable outdoor space. And of course, it's very physical here, so we have the option to be sat down and doing seated gardening for those that need to. But today we had a couple of people out doing some real physical digging and weed pulling. And to get that level of exercise, again, is I think we're fairly unique, unless you're going to an exercise class. So they're getting a lot of exercise without even perhaps without the knowledge, that without thinking about it, they're doing lots of physical activity, which I think is something that they get and they really enjoy from being here.
It sounds like it's got quite a range of different benefits for people, and you must get to know the people quite well. Have you noticed any changes in some of the people who've been coming for a couple of years or so?
Yes, there are changes. You tend to notice it very quickly. So somebody will be the same, have similar symptoms, and then you'll see them the next week and something's changed. It might be that they forget who you are, or that they are more repetitive when they're talking, or maybe just less wanting to sit down more, just little things, but you do notice them. And we follow people through, and we have had, in the 3 years that we've been doing this, there have been a handful of people that have moved from here, and where they're living at home and coming here, and they've perhaps gone into care, and so we don't see them anymore, although we keep in contact, and their carer is always very welcome to keep coming as well. So we do that continued support, because even though they're not caring for somebody at home, it's long distance caring really, and they still need that support. But yes, you do notice, and we notice changes after COVID in everybody, including the carers. Isolation has left some of them less mobile, some of them less, their communication skills have been affected. I think that's probably happened across the board. I think we all perhaps have felt a little bit of that, and it's certainly been quite noticeable in folk that come along to the Red Shed.
So you mentioned COVID. Can you talk a little bit about what the last year, 18 months have been like for you and the project? What happened when we entered the pandemic last March? What happened to Red Shed at that point?
Well, The Red Shed has been one of the positive stories that have come out of this horrible time. When we first closed down, we weren't really sure what to do, but we kept in touch with people. And then we came up with the idea of actually taking out and taking tasks out to the group. And so each week we put together something. It might be seed sowing, it might have been something arty like decorating a pot, or something to do with houseplants, also all manner of things, to just take out a task for them to do, and then we'd put their results in a newsletter that we also sent out weekly, so that people were, we were contacting them physically by arriving on their doorstep with some remote gardening, and we kept their stories so that they were all connected still. And it was good for people to have a task to do as well. Not everybody did it every week, but we would deliver it and maybe they would catch up and do it a couple of weeks later. But that's basically how we survived. We also picked up some new participants that way, because people were looking for things to do and other people heard about what we were doing, and so we delivered to more. And we actually expanded in numbers. So when we were able to reopen again, we had to start new garden clubs because we had increased in numbers during COVID. So that was a good thing, that we were able to keep in contact with people, we were able to keep connected with them, and that we grew in numbers. And the other good thing was, because we are an outdoor site, we did have to spend some money on a gazebo, so that we've become more all-weather. We used to meet in here in our activity shed, but it's too small for even for the small groups with COVID restrictions. So we've now got an outdoor space, and we were able to open up a lot quicker than a lot of other services. In fact, there are still lots of services in the area that aren't open, whereas the Red Shed, we've been able to be open now for a few weeks. And last Wednesday, we actually were able to have a lunch in the grounds for 29 people, because we just fitted underneath the 30, and that was a great opportunity for everybody to get together and to meet and to be outside and just to catch up with each other. So having an outdoor space in this time has been an enormous benefit, and a big plus for us as a project. Unfortunately, none of our folk have been affected by actually catching COVID, and apart from the lockdown period of time has made some of the symptoms that they had worse, everybody is fit and well and happy to be back. So it's like I say, it's been quite a positive experience, thankfully, through COVID.
Sounds like you've been very creative and with the outreach and taking the garden to people. Is there anything that you've learned from the last year that you might want to take forward in terms of the way you operate?
Yeah, it's the remote gardening actually worked really well, and it is something that we could, well, it's always going to be up our sleeve now. So if there's anything like this happens again, or if somebody has actually for some reason wasn't able to come here, we've now got something where we can keep them connected. So it was interesting to learn that. We also, I mean, just funny things that went down well. We did some research with the group on different methods of growing sweet peas. So a few of the people that got involved with that actually really enjoyed it, and it's something that we hadn't particularly thought of doing before. So now we're back doing our workshops, and it's something that we can bring into our workshops. You know, let's try growing these in this kind of soil or that kind of soil. And so that people, we're very keen on continuing to learn. Even when you have dementia, you can learn new things. And we've probably boosted that a little bit because it works so well during the COVID. And houseplants as well was another thing that we could now we did it because we were delivering to people at home, and not everybody had a garden. So if you're delivering to somebody in a flat, so it was good to use houseplants. I don't frankly know a lot about houseplants, so it's something we're all learning together, but it's a great winter opportunity. We like to go all through the winter anyway, but it's good to have sort of more things to try. So we learned, probably the easiest way of saying it is we learn how flexible the garden actually allows you to be. There's so much different things going on, whether it's feeding birds, growing vegetables, or doing flower arranging. There's such a variety of things that we can tap into. That's going to be a big help, understanding that, and as we go forward. Yeah,
sounds wonderful, like you're continually evolving and being creative. How do you actually communicate with your members? Virtual or telephone? Or
well, telephone, text, messenger. A lot of folk follow us on Facebook. Yes, I mean, I don't know, somebody who doesn't know a lot about people with dementia at the moment might be surprised. But yes, social media is definitely a way of keeping in touch with people, and also just meeting here as soon as we can do, or could do with lockdown. If people needed to just pop in and have a cup of tea, and we can actually do that face to face here as well.
Right.
Although when we emailed our newsletter out, but anyone who didn't have access to email or wasn't comfortable with email, we pop it in the post.
So you mentioned research more in terms of sort of horticulture and growing things. Clearly, you've described some of the health and well-being aspects of people being involved in outdoors and in your garden. Have you been involved in any health and well-being research at all?
We've been part of a research programme that's being run by the University of Hertfordshire. With that, we have got involved with part of the Hertfordshire Sports Partnership, and we were talking with them about the sort of activities, physical activities, for improving health and well-being. And interestingly, the question was asked to a group here, what else do they do apart from come to the Red Shed? And the answers were, one lady said, well, I go to the gym. One lady said, I play hockey. And a gentleman said, I run a fitness class. So the people that come here, either with dementia or the carers, they are all quite active. Majority of them who can be are doing other things as well. But what we are going to do, following on through working with that research, is run some croquet lessons. It's loosely connected to us because it's a garden sport. So yes, we're going to be doing that in the summer to see how that brings people in and brings them together to do something different. It'll be a learning something different. And we're going to run it in the evening, and that's because we understand from reading research that quite often with dementia your body clock is affected, and you might actually find that people are more energetic in the evenings. So this gives us an opportunity to do something in the evenings to see if their level of activity is actually higher, and maybe from that it would be worth launching a garden club in the evenings. But so that's something that we're looking into.
From your knowledge of the members that you work with dementia and their carers, are there any issues that you think could be important for research?
I think there's a lot. I think the idea of people keeping physically fit, I think would be important to see how, I mean, I think that affects everybody's mental and physical well-being, actually, being physically active. And I think there has been some research around that, but the more fit you are, and about basically how your well-being affects the onset of the dementias. Can you slow it down by being fit and well and and also the other positive benefits as well, by connecting with other people, by learning new things, by being involved with nature and the natural world, the sort of effects that that can have on dementia. It'd be interesting, maybe that it even happens, but it'd be interesting to have more research. I'd like to definitely read some more up about that kind of thing. How does it affect people's dementia? We have evidence where people simply say that when they come here, they're cared for is so much better afterwards. One lady said that her husband skips home afterwards because and so feels so much better for being here, really lifts his spirit. And he does do other activities, including an exercise class, which he's been doing by Zoom, but normally he would do it indoors. But it doesn't lift him as much as being here and being outside and connected with the garden. So I think there must be something there that might be interesting to have further research about.
When we spoke before, you talked about how important you feel it is for people with dementia to continually be challenged and to learn, and that the tendency is to assume that that is not possible. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I mean, people really do enjoy learning. I remember working, the first time it really came up for me was I worked with a group. We took a Red Shed roadshow down to another group in Hemel, and we did some plant pot decorating. It was a technique called decoupage, which is really easy, lots of colourful paper slapped on with loads of glue. You can't go wrong, and it's a really nice, easy thing to do, and you get your result quickly. And there was one lady there, and she said to me, do you know, I didn't think I could learn anything new now. And I thought, well, now that's really interesting. I hadn't even thought it would give them an opportunity to learn something new. It just hadn't sort of happened. I didn't think about it. But when she expressed that, it made me think, right, I'm going to go out of my way now to try to teach people new things. So we've done all sorts of arts and crafts, and we talk about different ways of gardening, different plants that people haven't grown before, succulents, cactuses, different herbs, try different vegetables. There's just lots of new things to explore with people. And I'm not very good with the medical side of dementia, but my understanding is where all your neural pathways are in your brain, and the dementia can block those pathways. So your route from A to B may not happen, but you can relearn something and go via C to get to B. And so I think that learning things is a really positive thing, because it must exercise your brain, because it's like a muscle. And if your brain is exercised to learn new things because they're interesting to you and you want to learn them, then maybe your brain is getting used to making new pathways and coping better with life, with the dementia. So yeah, people, and they enjoy it. You know, people love to surprise themselves and say, I really didn't know that, and now I do. And I'm 92 and I have dementia, and I've just got something new up my sleeve. That's, you know, you can't get better than that.
So would you be interested as a group in working with researchers in the future?
I can answer yes, a big fat yes from the group, because with the research we're doing currently with the University of Hertfordshire, it's around services in Stevenage. So not the whole group has been involved with it, because not everybody comes from Stevenage that come here. But the big thing, which I think really says a lot, is the feedback is it's great to be listened to, and it's great to be asked, and to have their chance to give some input. So I do think that they would be very up for some research, to be able to share their experiences, and yeah, to be heard. I think that's a really powerful thing. And we're very good at setting up things without asking the stakeholder. Actually, you know, we think, oh, this is going to be a good idea. I do it myself sometimes with a group. I'll think, oh, it'd be a really good idea if we do, and actually that's not what they want to do at all. And it's not until you ask them. So yes, they would be interested in saying their piece and getting involved with research, definitely.
So what would be the best way for researchers to approach your group and get in touch?
Well, you can get in touch with the Red Shed. Our webpage probably is the first page, and that's got all our contact details on there. Get in touch through there. There's also a lot of information on the webpage. We do a monthly blog about what we're doing here. So if any potential researcher wanted to get more of a flavour of the Red Shed, that's the place to go. And then to come and visit, to work alongside folk, just to be here when people are having a cup of tea. We can be very flexible about having somebody here as a guest to visit, and maybe even just do a program of activities if that was what their research called for. Basically, we would be happy to work however, you know, possible within our garden with people.
So get in touch and make a date to come and bring along their gardening gloves and get stuck in.
Yeah, there's no sitting around, not here.
Thank you, Sue. Is there anything else you'd like to say that you haven't had a chance to say?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think I just want to, on behalf of people who are living with dementia, how important it is to have support, and the support will be better through research. And it's something, dementia isn't going away, and actually it's going to be, as we all get older and there's more older people around, dementia is just going to have a bigger and a bigger effect. And we need to be aware of that, have things up our sleeve with how to deal with it, understand that the generations are going to change. People always seem to talk about the war and Vera Lynn songs when they think about dementia, but actually I've got people who have dementia that were, you know, children in the 60s or teens in the 60s, and their outlook is different, and we have to make sure that our services are flexible and take that into account. And yeah, we need to bust some myths that are there about dementia. Dementia, you can live with it. You can even live well with it. I'm not sure that the carers live well with it, but for folk who have dementia, there's still lots that they can do, it isn't the end. They don't all just turn into children overnight, you know, when they're losing faculties. There's lots of myths and misunderstandings. And yes, that's what I'd like to say, that we need to look at this as something that's, you know, really get a good understanding of it and the people who have it.
Thank you very much.